So I'm presenting on behalf on the R Validation Hub, and we just want to present you some updates, what happened over the last year, and also Coline is going to go in more deep dive into the Pharma repository. So as I said, we're going to have half of the presentation. You can see this now, right?
Yes.
Good. I will go with the first half, introduction and updates, and then Coline will take over with the second half. No need to take screenshots. The slides are already available, so you could go through this in parallel by yourself. Alrighty, so who are we? If this is the first time you're participating in our Pharma, you may not have heard of us, but the R Validation Hub is a cross-industry collaboration that supports the adoption of R within the biopharmaceutical regulatory setting. It is actually something that grew out of the first R Pharma conference in 2018, and now we are an R consortium working group. We are led by participants from about 10 organizations, and we have frequent involvement of health authorities such as the FDA. Having said that, there is like an email list and regular community meetings where we have about like 60 organizations spanning across multiple industries. So it's quite an established thing, and without further ado, I'm going to jump directly into the updates. We have a new lead. You all probably expected Andy, who has done excellent work leading us for the last couple of years, but conflicting resources and life moves on. So we have a new R Validation Hub lead, who is Doug Kelkoff. And with that, we kind of did a pulse check on how things are going, and we are having more ways of getting involved. So that's good for you. You probably know already about the white paper, risk metric package, and the risk metric app. More details later in this presentation. But there's a new communications work stream. There's a great opportunities to get involved. The repo work stream, and there's also a new R package with where Aaron actually swallowed the bullet and ran risk metric on the entire CRAN repo, which is a very comprehensive data package now. So these are all new opportunities to get involved, but also some old ones have some interesting updates. Key policy updates. You probably have seen that FDA submissions are possible, and FDA appears to accept R files through the ESUB team. This is obviously work from the R submission working group, one of our affiliates. And there's also, we want to raise awareness that FDA has released a draft on new computer software assurance guidelines that seems to be increasingly the basis for the evaluation of R, just for your awareness. And we also want to highlight a affiliate, which is CAMI's, Comparing Analysis Methods Implementation in Software. It's another cross-industry group from members with FUSE, PSI, and ASA. They have released a white paper providing guidance on the appropriate stats methods used. So you remember that rounding is not rounding. You can have long conversations about rounding. So they're really recommending, like, don't default to the defaults because they actually may mean different statistical methods. And it's super important to be specific in the analysis plans, not just assume that whatever we used to do is the right option. And in more details, they are building a repository of method comparisons, mostly focused on R and SAS, and it's super easy to get involved, and they are looking for contributors, so please have a look. Coming back to the R Validation Hub, we have had some case studies. As you probably remember, we had 7 companies who have shared their approach for package validation. And it was good to see that the white paper that has been published quite a couple of years ago now has been really implemented by a wide range of companies. There is some agreements on that base and recommended packages can be considered to be trusted. We have typically seen a heavy reliance on unit testing. And based on that, as well as risk metric meta information, categorization of risk was either high and low or high, medium, and low. But we also have seen some differences, which was on one hand risk stratification, but also the way that risk was managed. There were different ways, such as the human in the middle review, or the package was kind of subsetted and restricted, or additional testing was added. But themes that we have seen all over was that the whole process of package risk assessment is time and resource intensive. It requires people involved with a very unique intersection of expertise, and there are challenges around the lifecycle management of the ecosystem. So that really gives us, as our validation hub, some future opportunities to help out with this cross-industry approach. Having said that, the R package risk metric has had some quite interesting updates. Some parts that are improving the ease of use is a wrapper functions that are actually like encapsulating the entire workflow and make also pretty outputs. There are more complete risk metrics in the sense that more sources for package sources are possible and being able to chain those together. And there are modular additions from other community packages, such as also SRR and package stats. So it really is easier to add those custom assessments too. And finally, there is more focus on metric and scoring, so it's possible and more robust to make custom weighting. So the different risk metrics basically put together with different weights. And there are more guidance materials on weighting and how specific assessments can be used based on community feedback, but also our own best practices. So this is risk metric. And then the risk assessment app. We are very proud the risk assessment app has gotten a best app award at the ShinyConf. So that's really some of the things that have been implemented already before, but some also brand new features. Some older updates are facelifts for the improved report builder as well as database view, and as well the better possibility for dependency inspection. There are new admin tools like org-level customization of the config file. Also, admin user role management was improved. There's a new source file explorer. The original code was provided by GSK that really allowed to flexibly browse the test files. And then there's now a brand new add-on which allows to browse the help and the source code of one of the same function at the same module, so you don't need to switch back and forth. And finally, a very new contribution is an automatic risk assessment, which sounds really cool because the user basically can just write custom code to automatically categorize the packages into low, medium, and high. And something that I really recommend, if this all doesn't make sense, there is a demo on the GitHub page where you can just easily play with these things yourself. Having said that, I'm handing over to Coline.
Thanks, Juliane. Thank you. Hi, everyone. So my name is Coline Zeballos. I lead the Regulatory R Repository Working Group that Juliane mentioned, one of the new working groups that the R Validation Hub has. And I'll be talking to you about what it is about and what's our progress, how you can join us, and so on. So we've been presenting this at several other conferences that happened. Right now we are in the time of the year of conferences, so some of you might have seen those slides, but I think hopefully we also reach another part of our audience. So this is a working group that kicked off at the beginning of the year. We currently have approximately 25 to 30 extended members, so the biggest team that meets quarterly. And we have a core team that meets every week of about 10 to 15 people. Not everybody attending every week, but more or less this is the amount of people we have working every week on this working group. I like to say that we have a very good representation of the stakeholders, the future users, consumers of this repository, as we have a lot of sponsor companies that we like to call in our jargon. So we have 8 different companies, mostly pharmaceutical ones. We have CROs, we have health authorities represented there. We have also service provider companies, so companies who have a product that we will leverage because we will not build something from scratch. So we need to build a community of providers. So you see a pretty eclectic and representative group of people here that we have in the working group. I'll be sharing in the Slack channel a one-pager that we have about the benefits of joining our working group that summarizes, what you need to know before you join the working group, how to join, and the benefits, as its name says. So our objective is to build and support the transparent, open, it says here, dynamic, cross-industry approach, establishing and maintaining a repository of our packages. So really the idea is that, and I will go to how we got there in a moment, but really the idea is that to have a public repository of validated, and I put it in between quotes because the term validated is evolving, and I think the R Validation Hub will progressively put out a statement, or at least should. And I know there are some discussions around, defining this term of validation that we're using a lot, and that means several things for several people. So I say validated R packages will be on this repository in between quote, but at least ready for submission, R packages will be available. That's the idea. So we have different stakeholders involved, as is written here, validation leads, health authorities, and so on. And on the next slide, I'll show you how, I'll explain to you a little bit how we got there. So as Juliane mentioned, the R Validation Hub white paper was widely adopted, but it's not so easy actually to implement given the variations, right, throughout the industry. Each company has a different way of maybe even defining validation, as we said before, then what it means concretely and so on. Also, sharing software with health authorities is a challenge, has been a challenge for the last years, even though, as mentioned before, there is progress there. The R Consortium Submission Working Group is doing a fantastic job to improve this, but it's still, it's still in the workings in a way, right? So, and also health authorities are likely to question the software used due to technical inconsistencies, meaning, as you know, health authorities need to reproduce what we give them, and if the system on which it was developed in the sponsor company is different than what the FDA is equipped with, or other health authorities, then there are some challenges, technically speaking. So therefore, given all of the above, we feel that really what we want to achieve is really to have a shared place. Here we say ecosystem, because at the end, we call it a repository, but it will be an ecosystem of tools that end up being a central place with validated code. So that's how we got there. Now the work up to date, what we've been doing is really something that is key to us, is to build consensus in package evaluation and distribution. If we don't have the trust from all stakeholders, as you can imagine, our solution will not be adopted, and therefore we would have lost our bet or our vision, right, for this. But it is a challenge, as you can imagine, to agree on one way of evaluating packages. Distributing is another challenge, but we have solutions for this. But really, the unsolved problem at the moment is evaluating packages and agreeing on how to do this across several companies. So we have done stakeholder interviews at the beginning. We interviewed key stakeholders. We thought, okay, who would be the contributors, but also the consumers of such a central repository? So we thought validation leads, our package developers, system admin, health authorities, and so on. So we've done stakeholder interviews to confirm what we were sensing, right? And then we split the feedback we received into several big topics that we will see in a moment. So we can go on the next slide. What does the solution look like? So actually, what we ended up saying is, okay, we need to have guidelines on how to reproduce the development of our packages. So we need to have those guidelines that would be publicly available and going hand in hand with the repository. We need, as we said before, a standard and public assessment of packages. It cannot be a black box, right? We need to know how the assessment was made. And also, this ecosystem that we are mentioning will include communication channels, right? How do we report a bug? The team that validates, or the validation pipeline that would be automated, Where is human intervention? How do we communicate between each other, and so on, security, and so on. So you see, that's why we call it an ecosystem. And the proposal so far looks like, so this is graphically and visually the best way we can represent it for the moment, but it is, as you can see, we see that there are different pieces of the puzzle, right? So we would leverage, we have here CRAN, our universe, we would leverage an already existing repository, to be defined which one, and because we have some assumptions that we make. But and then there would be a UI, right, a user interface that would allow you to filter the packages that you want to access depending on the risk. So we would use the risk metric app and tool that the R Validation Hub has put into place. There would be a way of filtering. There would be a way of also publishing and yeah, distributing our packages. So we are really leveraging, we will leverage several tools that are already existing. We are speaking with, you've probably heard of companies like Taurus who are working on a solution, a private one that we will try to see how we integrate. Posit also has their famous R Package Manager, which is a well-functioning and very widely used tool for companies. So these are, you know, we're still thinking about the exact setup, but the idea is here. It's around here. And on my last slide, apologies, I have a cold. So the leaps of faith. So really, to finish, we have, even though we are still answering some questions, we do have a couple of fixed items and things with discussions we've had with different people and within our team, we thought, okay, we need a golden image. We need a place that we validate against, a place. We need an image, a system characteristics and definitions against which we validate. Otherwise, if we don't have a central definition of which environment we validate against, this will not work. We will also rethink requirements, so how we test, how we capture requirements of a package, how we do a traceability matrix, and so on. I spoke about the communication, very important. We don't want it to be a black box. We want it to be a transparent way of assessing package quality. And really, we have also all sorts of edge cases that we are conscious about and that we want to handle in a transparent manner. That's in short. Thank you for listening. I'll hand over to Juliane for the last one.
Yes, so in the last minute, I can just motivate you to join the R Validation Hub. Please check out more info on our website and the GitHub pages for the different work streams, and also get on our mailing list and get involved with all the community activities that are going on. Thank you.